Hello and welcome to part 17 of the Johnny Blender 2.0 series. Go ahead and kick this off by copying our JB16 folder and creating a number 17. So as soon as that finishes there, okay, go ahead and rename that to 17. Let's go in here and one thing you'll notice when you're saving your Blender files is sometimes Blender automatically makes like a little backup of your file there, and it names it Blend 1 or Blend 2. I've seen it up to Blend 3. I don't know how far it'll actually go, but these aren't real necessary. I'm going to go ahead and delete them, and that'll save some space here because they're all the exact same size as this, which is right at 20 megabytes. So let's go ahead and rename that to JB17. Okay. And then we'll go ahead and open it up. Oops, wrong one. Cancel. There we go. And I'll go ahead and scale it down to fit in the boundaries of the screen recording software here. And okay, now one thing that I noticed, select the right model here, okay, is that in this layer we still have the original model that we were sculpting on, that high resolution model, so it's taking up space, so we can go ahead and delete that. We don't need it anymore. And then let's go ahead and grab these eyeballs. Let's come out of textured view and go into solid, and let's start working on these eyeballs, or at least one of them, and then we'll copy it over. So we'll go ahead and set it to smooth, and you know what, let's go ahead and apply a subdivision surface to it. Excuse me. Okay, now we'll tab into edit view, edit mode, and let's go ahead and set that to rotate around the median point. And one thing I like to do when I'm creating eyeballs is to have the underlying surface, which would be the eye whites and the irises, and then have a separate surface for the lens and the glossiness of the eyeballs. So let's go ahead and do that. We got everything selected there. We'll just hit Shift D to duplicate all those faces, and then just right click to confirm that, and we'll just hit S to scale it up a little bit, and then let's hit B to bring up our crosshairs, and we'll hit Alt and click and drag, and let's deselect all of these faces except for these guys right here, and then we'll zoom in and let's scale those on the Y-axis a little bit bigger, about like so, and let's drag it up, and this will be our deformed eye. You can kind of get an idea of what it looks like here. This is going to be the lens, and the rest of it will be just the kind of the oh, what's the word I'm looking for? The membrane over the eyeball. So let's go ahead and select all of that. Let's just hit Control L, and we'll go ahead and hide it. It's still there. Don't worry, we didn't delete it. We just hit it, so it's out of the way. And let's come in here on the surface of the eyeball itself and select the same thing up here, except this time we're going to go the other way. Hit S and then Y, and this time drag your mouse this other way and it'll make it concave, and a little indentation there, and then just drag it back to fit in the right spot, and just deselect everything, and we can zoom out there and you can kind of get an idea of what that's going to look like. It's going to be a nice indented surface, so it gives it that nice, you know, that nice three-dimensional feel of the eyeball. So okay, so let's go ahead and tab out of edit mode now, and let's go ahead and start working on our textures. Let's create a new material right here for our eyeball here. We'll call this let's name it lens. Okay, and now we want the lens to be completely transparent, so we go to transparency and change the alpha all the way down to 0. Okay, and you can see it disappears there. It's because it's transparent now. Now you can see it's got like a little darker area right underneath where the actual preview mesh there is, but I don't want it throwing any shadows at all, so I'm gonna go collapse all these guys until I get to my shadow section here. Go ahead and expand that and just turn off all these guys, and there we go. And you can see there's no more shadow there. Now pardon me, let's go to the specular and set this to blend and intensity all the way up to 1.0, and let's set the hardness up to 200. You can see it puts a nice white dot there on that clear surface. So being an actual world, you know, in the real world, a clear object, it's going to throw some refraction on anything that's on the other side of it. So let's mess with that. We'll go to transparency, and this time click on ray trace, and we'll change the index of refraction up a little bit, just a few points. You can kind of see it start taking effect there. Let's put it at 1.5, and we'll see how well that works. Let's go ahead and save our scene. What do you say? Okay, now we're going to be looking at our eyeball when we're, you know, animating and things like that after we get our rig and everything set up. So we want to see really which direction it's looking. Right now it's just kind of a sphere there. We can't really tell which direction our concave iris area is going to be pointed. But since we have this set to transparency, if we go up here on our object settings and go down here to display, we go ahead and check the transparency right there. It's not going to display anything in our 3D viewport there that has a transparent setting. And since this particular mesh has only this one material applied to it, it applies that transparency to the whole thing. So that's good for the lens, but we need to see the underlying mesh so we can see where it's looking and all that. So let's tab back into edit mode there, and we'll select everything, and we'll go back to our material settings, and let's go back up here and we'll hit the plus sign to create a new one, and it just copies the one that's already there, but you can go ahead and delete that by clicking the X right there beside it, and it gives the option to create a new one. So let's go ahead and do that. And since we have all of these faces selected here, we'll just go ahead and assign, and then we'll tab out of edit mode, and you can see that we can now see the underlying eyeball. So let's go ahead and tab back into edit mode, and we're going to create a seam right here about halfway across. Go Control E and mark that seam just like we did on the face. And this honestly is a little bit too big for my taste, the iris area, so I'm going to go ahead and Control R, put a loop right there in the middle, and just go ahead and drag it up some. And you know what, now that's too deep, so let's go ahead and bring that up some. Okay, so that's a little bit smaller. Now I'm going to go ahead and save this, and I want to show you a trick that you don't have to use a photograph for a nice iris texture. You can use this fancy little thing here in Blender, and I'll show you that. So let's go ahead and make sure we've saved. Okay, and I'm going to create a new scene, and I'm just going to go ahead and delete that default cube, and now I'm going to Shift A to bring on my add menu, and I'm going to add a circle. And let's give it quite a few more vertices. Let's make it 100 vertices and make sure we turn on fill. And now let's go to our top view by hitting 7 on our numpad, and we'll tab into edit mode. And we don't want to, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to subdivide all these, but I don't want to subdivide the edge, so let's grab the edge select mode and hold down Alt Shift and then right click there on that edge, and it leaves everything selected except for the edge, which if we subdivided that, then it would subdivide in between each one of these, and we don't really want that. We just want what's already there. So now if we go W, subdivide, go over here to our settings, and we want, let's make it 3 cuts like so, and then on the fractal we'll drag that up, and you can see it starts going crazy over there. So let's drag that way up, probably, let's make it 10. So just type in 10. Okay. And when we tab out, you can see that it's got a nice fractured circle there. And so if we add a subdivision surface there, it'll smooth it up. Make sure we have smooth shading turned on. And you can kind of get an idea already. This is going to look, well, from the top view, it's going to look like an iris. So we just need to start adding some settings to it. Let's go to our materials and add a new, and then we'll go to the texture and also add a new there, and this one's going to be a blend, and we need to change the blend settings here from linear to I believe it's spherical. There we go. And let's do a both so we can see this as it's going, and let's turn on that square preview right there. Let's go ahead and expand this out a little bit. Okay, so let's collapse this and let's go to our colors, turn that to ramp, and this guy over here is already selected. It's a black color, but it's set to 100% transparency, so just click on that and run the A all the way up. That's our alpha settings, and let's make this have some color to it. Let's hold down control, we'll click a spot right there, and let's change that color to a nice, my eyes are kind of a brownish amberish color. And so let's make it kind of a brown right there, and then we'll come in here, add another spot there. Let's make this more of a little bit of a yellowy area. And let's grab the white there and just go and make it black. This will be our pupil. And let's drag this all the way over to about right there, and you kind of get a preview of what it's looking like right there. Okay. Okay, now this is applied. Let's go ahead and see what it looks like here. If we go to textured view, we can kind of get an idea. Okay, looks like we might need to change our normals. So let's tab in, let's make sure we're viewing from the top, yeah. Tab into edit mode, select everything, and go Control N. And just pop that to inside, and there we go. Textured is not showing. So let's set our camera and light up so we can get a nice view of this. Just grab both of these and hit Alt G, and it's going to clear out their locations and put them right there in the center. And we'll hit Alt R to clear out the rotation on the camera. And let's grab the camera and get that blue arrow and drag that up. And let's grab the light also and drag it up too. And now hit 0, and you can see through the camera. And let's zoom out some. Okay, now let's go ahead and save this. We're in the 17 folder. Let's just go ahead and call this iris underscore trick. Sounds good to me. Iris trick. Save. And now if we hit F12, you can see we've got that nice texture on here, but it's way, way, way too shiny. So let's escape out of there. Grab that guy, go to our material settings, and turn the specular all the way down to 0. And now if we render, it looks a lot better. Our pupil doesn't really look too good, so let's play with that a little bit more. Go to our texture settings, down to the ramp, color ramp. Let's just drag that pupil a lot bigger, about like so. Okay, now let's see what it looks like. Well, it's not really behaving the way I'd like, so I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Since we got that black going up in there, and that looks kind of neat, I'd like to have color in there instead of the black. So let's play with the settings just a little bit more, and let's change this from black to kind of that reddish brown again. Maybe about like that. And let's do a render now. Maybe that's too red. Okay, let's make it a little bit bigger. Okay, now that's too much contrast there. Okay, so this will probably look fine. Now, in order to get my pupil back on there, let me just go ahead and escape out, and I'm just going to go ahead and add another circle. This one I don't need as many. I don't need 100 vertices. I probably don't even need 32. Let's just go 16 and make sure we fill. And we'll go ahead and scale it down about like so. And let's go to side view. Zoom in here, and let's bring it up above that. It's putting everything upside down. I don't know why. Let's just rotate that 180 degrees on the x-axis. There we go. Back to top view, and let's go ahead and create a new material for that. Just turn it black right here. We don't need a texture map for it. And go ahead and set the specular level all the way down. And now when we render, we've got a nice dark pupil there in the middle. Now you can play with this as long as you like and get whatever colors you want. But for me, that's the only colors I really want to use here. However, I would like to have my background be sort of the white of the eyeball. So let's go ahead and go to our world settings and change the horizon color here to not quite white, kind of like on the teeth, just a slightly yellowish, little bit of a tan in there. About like that. Okay, and now when we render, it'll put that behind it. So let me do one more thing. Let's grab this. I want to scale it down just a little bit so it fits in the window a little bit better. Another thing I can do is just go to the window settings and let's change that to 1024 by 1024 right there in the middle, and why not, let's make it a little bit bigger now. Okay, and let's go ahead and F12, and there we go. So let's go ahead and save this image. So we'll save as, and we'll call this JB_iris. Go ahead and save. Okay, and I'll go ahead and save the scene. And now let's go back to JB17. There we go. And we'll go into edit mode of our eyeball here, select everything, and let's go image, open. Let's open that new iris. Okay. And now we can go UVs, unwrap, and let's just grab the, I think this one is going to be the front, so let's grab everything here on the back section, Control L, scale it down, and just move it up here somewhere in the white. Maybe even smaller. And then we'll grab this guy, move it up here. And let's go ahead and flip on the textured settings here so we can see what it's going to look like. It needs to be a lot smaller. So we can scale it up, but then we're going to go out of our boundaries. So let's do this. Let's turn on our proportional editing there. And let's do it to connected actually. And let's select all of these circles here in the middle. About right there. And let's just go scale those up, and you can see it's scaling the others small, very gradually. So about right there. Okay, and that's looking pretty decent, I think. Deselect everything. Yeah. Not a bad looking eyeball, huh? Let's go ahead and save. And one thing that makes an eyeball look a little bit more realistic is the little blood veins. We don't really want to make him look bloodshot, like he's been inhaling too much smoke or something like that, but we would like to give him a few natural looking ones. So let's just go to texture paint, and one thing that we need to do here in texture paint is it's showing the lens object also, so we kind of need to move that out of the way. Now this white thing, I'm not really sure what's going on here. We can see it if we check the box there, but you can see that orange, and that, I guess that means there's something in front of it. So let's tab into edit mode and hit Alt H to deselect, or to unhide the lens, and to move it out of the way and then be able to move it right back where it is after we finish. We need to do it in increments rather than just clicking and dragging it somewhere. We need to be able to put it exactly back where it is now. So if we hit G, it's going to bring up our move. Actually, I guess we need to turn off our proportional editing. Go ahead and disable that. Now if we hit G and then hit Z, it's going to move along the Z axis, and then we hit 1 on our numpad. It's going to move 1 blender unit up on our Z axis. So we go ahead and hit enter, and it goes ahead and applies it. Now if we want to, when we get done, we want to put it back, we just hit same thing, G, Z, and then this time we hit -1, and it goes -1 blender unit and puts it right back where it was. So I'll go and escape out because I want it out of the way right now. And go ahead and tab back to texture paint, and it's still orange, but no big deal. Let's grab our paintbrush over here, and let's turn off, I think it's still got these settings from before. Let's go ahead and turn it to draw, and turn off the project paint. Come up here and let's select a nice blood red, about like that. Strength doesn't need to be 100%, radius needs to be pretty small, so maybe even smaller than that. Probably, let's try 2. Now we can come on here. It's going to let us paint. Image painting. Now we can paint over here. So just paint some little blood veins in here. Set the radius down to 1. Yeah, there we go. Maybe some smaller veins mixing in with the bigger ones. And maybe back to 2. Okay, let's put some in up here. Just little random random shapes there. Okay, maybe back down to 1 now. Just put some abstract little scribbles on there. Okay, and that'll be good. We'll go ahead and save. Okay, and now we can come out of texture paint mode back to object mode, and you can see all those. They just kind of went halfway, but that should be fine. We're not going to really be turning our eyeballs any further than that, so let's go back to, actually we need to tab back into edit mode now and move our lens back where it was. So remember G, Z, -1. Okay, enter, tab out, and let's go ahead and turn that back to solid view. Now we will apply our newly created texture map there to our eyeball. So let's go to our texture settings here, new, and it's going to be an image or movie. Scroll down to mapping, it's going to be UV. Go ahead and collapse that in image. We'll go ahead and click the thumbnail since the eyeball texture is loaded into Blender already. We can just go JB Iris, and there we go. And we need to apply, it's set to the color, that's fine, but we also need to apply it to the color of the specular levels. So that really helps bring some of the color inside alive when the light hits it. So let's go back to our material settings real quick, and on the specular level, let's set the intensity down a little bit and the hardness down quite a bit too. Maybe the intensity up some. Maybe let's put it at 0.5. And the hardness at 10. So that'll be fine. And okay, I think if we go ahead and add our JB head, and let's go ahead and delete this other old eyeball and grab that one we just made and Shift D to duplicate it and hit X to drag it along the X-axis and go ahead and move it over to the other eye socket right there. Maybe we need to move those back a little bit. There we go. Okay, let's go ahead and save. And let's take a peek at how this is going to look in our render. Let's go ahead and turn on our lights. Go ahead and save one more time and F12. We're going to go ahead and need to put the subsurface scattering on there as well. But we can get a quick idea of how that's going to look here. Okay, it's not too bad, not too bad. But like I said, let's go ahead and apply the subsurface scattering real quick. Go ahead and escape out of the render so it doesn't render the whole thing. For some reason it's locked in a different window. Something's going on here. Hold on, let me pause the recorder. Okay, I had the preview window up and it was, the mouse was controlling it rather than where I wanted it to. Okay, so eyeball again, and set the subsurface scattering. Let's go ahead and turn it to, I guess, let's try cream, see what that looks like. Set the back to 3, and scale, let's put that down to about 0.03. See how that looks, and let's go ahead and reposition our lights so we can get a little bit better view of the eyeball there. And side view, let's go ahead and bring those down some. And to the camera view, and we'll go ahead and save. And let's go ahead and render this guy again. The sub SSS for the head, and the eyeballs, and then the render finally. And we got some nice textures. However, those look a little cartoonish, but we'll kind of play with them later on in the next section. I think I'm running out of time here. So let's go ahead and I'll go ahead and save this image. Go ahead and call it today's date. There we go. Save as. Go ahead and close that out and file save. And that will be all of part 17. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in part 18.